Welcome, everyone. So very delighted to be here this afternoon with you to discuss about using virtual tool and applied artificial intelligence to mitigate your supply chain risk. Let me just introduce myself to get started. So my name is Isabelle Pilon. I'm co-founder and COO of Pivot 88. For those of you who don't know who Pivot 88 is, we are a quality and compliance software solution that enables the different partners along the extended supply chain to collaborate and exchange and share different types of information on quality and compliance. So what's the relevance of this in a retail trade show? So it's a little bit unusual to discuss supply chain. We believe that basically the ability to deliver the right product to the right standard and at the right time to your customer really starts by ensuring that everything is managed in the most efficient way and starting from the really early stages. So this is why we are here today. And then especially in the past few months globally, we've all seen that how critical that this can be in the new times and in the era that we live in with the COVID-19 situation. So that's even more relevant in today's world. So let me start by going over the content of the material that we're going to review today. So we're going to start by talking about the virtual tools. So on that, we'll get started with discussing the virtual inspections. We'll move along discussing virtual compliance. Thirdly, discuss about e-learning, and again, in the context of an extended supply chain network. And finally, but not least, we're going to discuss about the applied artificial intelligence and how this can empower you retailers to be to be much more proactive in this extent. So traditionally, and I like these slides because it really demonstrates the evolution that the supply chain has been following in these past years. Traditionally, very traditional, basically function, let's say. It is still not rare in 2020 to see a lot of paper in quality and compliance management. Still a lot of documents being scattered. And again, we're dealing with a network of partners. Therefore, the information is located at the different places. And why is that? That we maybe it's delayed compared to other functions, such as e-commerce, for example. Well, for sure, there's a lot of areas and a lot of investments that were made typically in everything that gets closer to the consumer. Although investment in that area may have a true impact. Especially in the context, as I was mentioning, that we live in, we can really see that the retailers and the brands that have invested and that are now on a digital mode where they have access to this information makes them winners and makes them ahead of the others, for which and again, in the context that we are in, from one day to another, you can no longer have a physical access to your supplier and to your network. Well, it makes it really challenging to keep delivering your promise to your consumers and all that. So I wanted to just go back on a recent webinar that we have hosted, and we were gathering different top executives of brands and retailers. And we were discussing like the technologies in the supply chain, but we polled the audience in regards of their main worry in the next 6 months. And it was quite interesting to see exactly that these travel restrictions is what is on top of the executive minds in these days, in these new contexts. And why is that? Well, it's mainly due to the previous slide where like for a lot of them, they're not still like fully digital, and they don't have visibility in the extended supply chain quality and compliance information, which makes it tremendously challenging at this stage. So I'm gonna give you to start an overview of what Pivot 88 does and which quality and compliance processes do we cover. So let's start with the quality side. So we basically touch and cover all the different stages of inspections and checks that are gone along the way. So from the raw material up to the stores. So whether we are talking about fabric inspection or components inspections at the tier 2, following the inline, end of line, final inspection, distribution centers, and even up to the store if there's any returns that are performed like by the end consumers. On the compliance side, well, it's everything to make sure that this quality information that is captured is really acted upon. So we don't want to capture the information just for the sake of it, but to make sure that this data we can action on. So for example, if an unconformity is detected, we want to make sure that there's a corrective action plan that is put in place and that is followed up upon. On the compliance side, there's also the supplier audits. So to ensure that all your factories are compliant with the different standards. So we know again that the end consumer is more and more demanding and want to make sure that you are compliant in regards to environmental regulations, for example, or corporate social responsibility. So like this process becomes really key, and you cannot fail them to that extent. When we talk about lab tests, we're talking about everything in regards to the elaboration of the product, the design of the product up to the manufacturing. So making sure, again, all the tests are performed and up to the standards that you need. And finally, you can see in the center event management. So for us, the meaning of quality is making sure not only that the right product is there, but it also there at the right time to, again, not to fail your consumers. So we will start to go over the virtual inspections. So what is virtual inspection and what does it mean? So you can really here picture an operator in the factory that is using Pivot 88, so a digital technology to capture the information. So traditionally, in regards with quality, the factory will have their own check and their own validation, and the brands will either send somebody from their team or will have a third-party inspection firm to go on site and to validate the process. So by virtualizing this process and going digital, what it ensures is that we remove the duplication in the process and making sure that everybody is aligned with the same standard. So everybody works with the same criteria and everybody is aligned with that. So as a result, as soon as the information is captured, photos are taken. If there's any problem, there can be an alert that is triggered to the managers that will approve the process, and wherever they are in the globe, so they have access in real time. So this process is the same whether it is at the distribution center or whether it is later on even at the store. So again, the information is digitalized in one place, accessible in real time, removing duplication, and therefore generating substantial economies of time, because all the administrative tasks around it are being removed, and therefore also consistent savings, which is also what something everybody is after. Second, virtual compliance. As I mentioned before, so we want to make sure that the information that is captured is being acted upon, which is really key. So we don't capture data for the sake of capturing data, but we really want to make sure that if there is a nonconformity detected, there is a corrective action plan that is put into place and followed up on. So this is what, once again, digitization and having a virtual process in place will allow. So it really ensures that nothing is missed, and it brings transparency along the process, as it is visible for everyone, and everyone is up to par with that. We know that there are more and more regulations to follow, and this process will and can become a challenge again to manage in a traditional way. So having a digital way to have that, make sure again to maximize the validity of the audits, but also now brings a new possibility of having even self-assessments in between the audit period that are done by your suppliers. So again, even if going on site at the factory is not possible in these current times, then you can still have some visibility of what's going on over there. Finally, lab test. So lab test, which is also a very important compliance process. That is also where a lot of investments are made. So making sure that the information is accessible in one platform is something that is really key. The third portion we're going to cover is in regards with e-learning. So some of you might have e-learning platforms available inside your companies. Although here we are talking about an extended network. And this is why it's so key to have the information about and the training about your standards and your processes available in the same platform is so key. For example, in this new context, there is new health and safety processes to be put in place. You want to make sure that they're respected and applied in a context where it's not possible to go physically and train your supplier. So e-learning becomes a key. So inside Pivot 88, we have Pivot Learn Plus, which allows your suppliers to be certified on your process, where they can follow digitally the video classes, review the relevant documents, and so on, and be quizzed after the fact. So you can ensure also that they are certified. Last but not least, we're going to discuss about applied artificial intelligence. We're going to talk about two of our virtual agents today. So the first one is Dolly. And Dolly is a QA manager assistant. So how does the process work? So you can see on the screen where we have a label that is produced in Chinese, so for the China market. And the goods could be produced, for example, in another location in Vietnam, for example, where the inspector would have to validate the information, which can be super challenging with a non-Chinese speaker. So what Dolly will do is that she will monitor the process consistently. So 24/7, she is reviewing every single photos that are taken and will apply the different business rules that are in place and that have been configured in the platform. So that ensures to highlight and ease tremendously the reviewing process if there's any validation that are failing. So it is, again, ensuring and making the process objective to ensure that everything is being followed. Dolly will also add different risk components to the process. So for example, every orders that are in the system will be consistently monitored, and a risk factor will be tagged to the different orders that are in. So what will this allow? It will make sure that and ease the allocation of your resources to ensure which in a context where we need to make choices to make sure that we really focus and review where the highest risk has been identified. And Dolly, what I can add is that, like, through the applied artificial intelligence, is consistently learning, which makes it like very like more and more brilliant and more up to date in regards to what is in the system to validate and add an extra layer of validation. The second virtual agent we're going to discuss about is Jolly, who's a global virtual assistant. So with Jolly, we go a step further to really go and identify the level of risk that are as part of your sourcing initiatives. So Jolly will consolidate all the different information of your data, but also all of the anonymized data that has been captured by the system throughout the years, and even will link it to additional and external sources of data. For example, like different political information of the different locations, different other source feeds that will impact the risk of one region versus the other. So it gives you at a higher level additional insights and will help you to make better decision and faster decision, and therefore be key to mitigating your risk. So with these tools, virtual tools, and with applied artificial intelligence, so the result is that in one single platform, you have a single source of data where everything is accessible, and it makes you be able to better assess and mitigate definitely the risk that you are like after, and that you need to counter as a leader. And again, we know that the retailers market is more and more competitive. There's different challenge that everyone has been experiencing, and even more so in the last months. And the ones that are prepared to act and that have the visibility and the digital tools in place from the earlier stages of the process are really the ones that will be that will win at this, and that will be in the best position to address the challenges that are there and ahead. So for the next few minutes, so we will be with my colleague Ana Maria, available to answer any questions that you may have. So we're happy to do so now. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be with you this afternoon. Thank you.
Different risk that is allocated to the different regions, so that will also help in the short and in the long run. Supply chains sometimes affected by festival and special occasion throughout the year, definitely. Will the system be able to predict the ups and downs? Yes, absolutely. So seasonality is part of the data that is in the system, and that is also been monitoring. So the solution will help you to monitor what are the real impacts also throughout the full year. So it's around for sure the period, but what about upon the return? Because we know that in some location it leads to a turnover of the staff in the factories based on the location. So what is the real impact? So again, you can make a better allocation and make better decisions in regards with that, definitely. Those are good questions. Thanks for your questions. My company is in Taiwan and my supply chain staff is not very good in English. I can't always help them. And will you provide support? Yes, absolutely. So not only do we have offices in different locations, so that was asked before, but the platform is also translated in 9 languages to better support the teams located in different regions. And also we have staff that is also located in these regions and able also to provide training in support in Chinese, for example. So Taiwan would be covered there. Yes. Good. Any further questions? So yeah, the supply chain is possible to be affected by trade ban conflict between regions. What can the system do to deal with the changes brought by that? Yes, so again, the regions and the countries of origin, for example, and different information in regards with regulation is captured in multiple areas in the system. So, and this is one of the dimensions that is explored. So whether it is through the analytics, the alerts, or even in regards with the risk trends, and even in regards with, for example, the detection we saw earlier in regards with the labels or the regulation that is. So in regards managing your risk in these different areas, so multiple aspects of the solution will allow you to better do so when like as opposed to having a process that is more traditional. So again, the idea is to get visibility and transparency in real time, and by having this visibility and these additional insights, it really gives you a competitive edge for better decision making and for a more proactive action. So whenever you need to make calls on these different things. So, all right. So I will thank you all for your time. And again, apologies for the ones that also attended earlier. So we had some technical difficulties, but so glad we were able to connect. So welcome to connect with our team and to pursue discussions to know more concretely how can our solution help and support your operations and business.